Good afternoon, everybody. It is Miss Morgan from the Williston Community Library, and I am bringing you today's summer reading activity. So if you've had a chance to come and pick up your package, you will need that today. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to paint some animals on our rocks, or paint our rock into an animal. It's up to you. But before we get started with that, we're going to go ahead and we are going to read a story. And we are going to read If I Were a Lion. If I Were a Lion. If I Were a Lion. And this is by Sarah Weeks, illustrated by Heather Solom. I'm sitting in the timeout chair because my mother put me there. She said, "You try my patience, child. I do not like it when you're wild." Wild? Who, me? That's so absurd. How could she even use that word? If I were a lion, I'd growl and roar and knock the dishes on the floor. I'd scare the hair right off the cat. But do you see me doing that? Do you see this little kid scaring the hair off the cat or breaking the dishes? If I were a bear, I'd have big claws. I'd rip up pillows with my paws. I'd scratch and poke and pierce and tear, not sit here nicely in my chair. Am I howling? Do I bark? Rummage through the trash at dark? Greet my visitors like this? And look, there's a bunch of frogs and they're eating the flies. No, not me. I hug and kiss. Do I snarl? Do I snap? Climb a tree and take a nap? Look at me. I'm meek and mild, about 1,000,000 miles from wild. And look, there's some raccoons in the tree and some alligators. Wild is woolly. Wild is wet. Wild's as naughty as you get. Wild's ferocious. Wild will bite. I'm precious and polite. Wild has feathers. Wild has scales. Wild has whiskers, tusks, and tails. Wild is furry. Wild is strong. Wild does not know right from wrong. Mother doesn't realize that lions don't apologize, but when she does, then she will see. The opposite of wild is me. The end. All right, everyone. So now that we've had a chance to read about If I Were a Lion and the different animals that were there, we are going to go ahead and we are going to grab our bags. So in your bag, you will find a rock. Okay, and then also in your bag, there's a little Ziploc bag full of things, and we're gonna go ahead and we are going to pull out our paintbrush. So you're gonna need your rock, your paintbrush, a cup of water, And then you have 3 things of paint that you were given. So you'll pull those out as well. And what we're going to do is we are going to choose what kind of animal we want to paint. So think deep and hard of what you want to paint on your rock. And it might, if you got to do a couple layers, it might take a little bit of time to dry. But once you figure out what you are going to paint, you're going to go ahead and you're going to open your paint, and on your paint is some tape. So you're going to want to be careful when you open it, and you're going to need to peel the tape off, or if you have scissors, you can cut it off. It is totally up to you. So now that I've peeled my tape, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to open it. And if you have something that you can put on your table, you can go ahead and do that. That way you don't make a mess. Or if you want to do it outside, whatever works for you. I put some newspapers down. And you're going to open all 3 of your paints, and the colors are different. So you might not have the same exact colors as me, or you might. It just depends. And once again, you're going to want to be careful when opening them. That way they don't pop open on you. See, I got green on me already from opening it. All right. So now that we've got our paint open, I've decided that I'm going to paint my rock like a ladybug. So instead of drawing the ladybug, which I could do as well, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to paint my whole rock red. And mine's going to be one of those where I have to wait a little bit before I can go ahead and paint the rest of it, because I'll have to paint it red and then do some dots on it. So mine's going to take a little bit of time to dry. And you can do whatever animal you want. I was going to do an elephant, but I thought maybe that would be too hard, because elephants are my favorite animal. What kind of animal is your favorite? And you don't need a whole bunch of paint. Okay, so now that I've painted my rock red, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to clean out my brush, because next I'm going to make some white dots. So mine's going to take a little bit of time to dry. And if you're doing it outside, it might take a little bit less time to dry because it is warmer out there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my dots ready to paint. And I'm going to practice painting my dots. That way I can make sure, because I painted red first, I want to make sure that I don't get pink versus white. Alright, so it looks like my paint is pretty much dry. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint my dots. I ended up with pink because I didn't wait quite long enough, but that's okay. I am painting my head of my ladybug. Okay, so here is my ladybug so far. So here is my ladybug's head, my spots, and my wings. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give my ladybug green eyes. So there is my completed rock, and I'll zoom in a little bit. That way you can see it a little better. But here is my ladybug rock. If you want to paint an animal, so like if I wanted to paint a ladybug, on it I could have painted like grass and a circle. It's totally up to you. If you want to paint your rock into an animal, sorry guys, I didn't realize that my head was getting cut off there. If you want to paint your whole rock into an animal like me, you can do that. Or if you want to just paint a little version of your animal, you can do that as well. All right, everybody, so that is going to conclude today's summer reading activity. So make sure you tune in next week. Turn in your challenge cards by Sunday. You don't have to turn in the physical copy. You can send a picture to our Facebook page or our email address, which is listed on our Facebook page, as well as if you want to physically bring it in, we'll mark you down for that as well. It is totally up to you, but thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.